Hello everyone and welcome to another Othello video. Without further ado, we will look at where we are. We are into Act 2. We're into Act 2 and we're going to do Act 2, Scene 1. Bloop, 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 bloop. Actually, I really thought, no, don't do the sound effects, and then I actually did. So I apologise. But without further ado, as I keep saying, even though there has been a do, let's get into Act 2. Act 2, Scene 1. So I don't know if this is going to be as long as the last video. We will see. But anyway, what happens is we have the action moves to Cyprus. Your edition might actually say this. This edition actually doesn't for whatever reason, but the fact is it's Cyprus. So as you know, there is all that fog of war stuff. There's all that concern about the Turkish fleet coming in, the Ottoman Empire, bearing in mind I've already done my Otto-related jokes, and it's not what you think. It's the Ottoman Empire, it's the Turkish Empire coming in. So there's a huge potential military threat. And Shakespeare, a bit of context for this, of course, Shakespeare doesn't have the luxury of modern special effects. He can't do CGI. He can't do model work. He can't do, he can't do graphics and things. So he has to convey information through words. And even in Shakespeare's time, the sets were minimal. They just used the same set. They had props, they had costumes, but they didn't really go in for sets at all in the modern sense. And actually, a lot of modern plays don't go in for sets. So everything's available. Everything, you can do anything in modern theatre, of course. But Shakespeare's convention was no sets. And on TV, you could do this through various means, or film, you could do this through various means. So again, we start in media res. We've got this middle of the conversation. Montano, what from the Cape can you discern at sea? So this is effectively conveying to the audience what they can see. So it's quite interesting, actually, if you think about what's happening. You've got actors just telling you what's going on, but of course we suspend our disbelief in the world of the theatre, don't we? It's almost like children play. It's like imaginary games for children, but of course we all buy into it. If a play's good, we buy into that fictional reality. So what from the Cape can you discern at sea? Nothing at all. There's a high-wrought flood. I cannot twixt the heaven and the main descry a sail. So we've got an idea of there's a storm happening. Methinks the wind hath spoke aloud at land. So there's a nice bit of personification. A segregation of the Turkish fleet. So we have the idea of the Turkish fleet is encountering a storm, and we have, I never did the molestation view on the enchafed flood. If the Turkish fleet be not in shelter and in bade, they are drowned. It is impossible to bear it out. So this is, again, remember in the last scene, I said when the Duke was looking over with the other senators, the latest military information, and it was like breaking news, effectively. That's how it would be conveyed in the modern era on a drama. You'd have a fake newscast. Similar things happening here. We're getting what's happening. We're being told that there's a storm and this huge Turkish fleet, which would be impossible for Shakespeare to depict on stage. We're being told that it's being destroyed by this storm. And third gentleman, news, lads. This is the news. Our wars are done. The desperate tempest hath so banged the Turks that their designment halts. A noble ship of Venice hath seen a grievous wrack and sufferance on most parts of their fleet. So the Venetian ships are arriving, Othello's army is arriving, and they've gone past all these wrecked ships. There's effectively been an act of God here, intervention by, nature at least, but I think in Elizabethan / Jacobean times, which is this plays, it's on that borderline of when it was written. Of course, to their worldview, they'd see it as an act of God, so like God's on their side. How is this true? The ship is here put in. A Veronesa, Michael Cassio, lieutenant to the warlike Moor Othello, is come on shore. So there's fame here for Othello, the warlike Moor Othello. I don't personally think that's being used in a derogatory sense. I think that's being used in just as a way of he's a military man. I don't think that's being used in a negative way at all, personally. But we've already talked about how Othello's ethnicity is always consistently, linked to his persona all the time, and it emphasises his nature as an outcast as well. Not an outcast, an outsider, not outcast. That's wrong. The reason I said outcast is because I was thinking of ships and castaways and things. That's why my brain was malfunctioning slightly. But as an outsider, the full commissioning for Cyprus to Glanlet, 'tis a worthy governor. So again, the reputation of Othello. He's a good man. He knows he's good. Pray heaven be he, for I've served him. The man commands like a full soldier. So it's again, he's served under Othello. He knows that he's really good. It's to throw our eyes for brave Othello. So he's a big fan of Montano. He's a big fan of Othello. And again, this is all reinforcing Othello's stature and the respect he commands as a general. But of course, indirectly, it emphasises how unusual he is in this society. Obviously, we're not in Venice anymore. This is Cyprus, but it's part of your Italian, white, European culture. He is always an outsider to that. Even when he's successful and respected, his outsider status is still, I was going to say logged. Is that the right thing I was going to say? I was going to say something else, but logged. Anyway, logged will do. Everyone's favourite human calculator, Cassio, enters. Thanks you, the valiant of this warlike isle, that so approve the more. So Cassio, again, I'd say Shakespeare depicts him as a worthy lieutenant. He's obviously a better choice than Iago. He's much better choice. He's in command, he's authoritative, he's loyal, he's intelligent. So he's good. He's a good choice. So we know that Othello's on his way. The town is empty. On the brow of the sea stand ranks of people, and they cry, "A sail!" Everyone's looking out for the ships to arrive. They discharge their shot of courtesy, so that's like a ceremonial cannon firing. So don't worry about that. Then but good lieutenant, is your general wived? Because Montano knows Othello by reputation. Most fortunately hath achieved a maid that paragons description and wild fame, one that excels the quirks of blazoning pens, and in the essential vesture of creation does tire the ingener. So the Cassio is, we've said before, he is definitely more of a kind of romantic figure. He's got a courtly quality about him, a genuinely courtly quality about his approach to love that Roderigo doesn't have, where Roderigo is almost like a parody of a courtly lover in many ways. Cassio is much more this chivalrous, respectful persona. And I think I've said before about how in Shakespeare's time was an era when they were really interested in chivalry. They were interested in the idea of courtly love, and the idea that they loved the King Arthur stories were popular in that time as well. They loved the stuff with Lancelot and Guinevere, and the idea that Lancelot was in love with Guinevere, but she was married to King Arthur and they could never be together. But there was a flirtatious, definite bond between them, and they loved all that stuff. And it also permeated into attitudes towards Elizabeth I as well. They just loved all this kind of thing. So Cassio's coming across like that, this respectful, courtly lover. But actually, you can interpret it differently. There is nothing to stop you looking at it and saying, well, actually, maybe there is something going on between Cassio and Desdemona, or something has gone on in the past. There's some, you can read into it a bit more if you want to. It's just, it's just what I think. You can disagree with all of this. I don't mind. I'm not offended. Let's go on to the next page. So, 'tis one Iago, ancient to the general. So we know that's rank is ensign. And we have Cassio. He definitely has the hots for Desdemona. Don't write that in any formal writing, of course, but the divine Desdemona. So the idea of divine obviously suggests that she's like a goddess to him. And he might say, steady on, Michael. She's married to your boss. You know, even without outside the context of the play, you could argue maybe you're going a bit far. Maybe you're going a bit far, Cassio. You maybe you're crossing a line a bit, but we will see. Keep an eye on that as we go on. Anyway, what is she? That sounds a bit rude, but that's really just grammatical conventions of the time. It doesn't really. What is she? She's like, oh, she's a 30-foot tall aardvark. No, I'm just being ridiculous. But it's just a convention of the time. She that I spake of, our great captain's captain, left in the conduct of the bold Iago, whose footing here anticipates our thoughts, a senight's speed. So you just say she's married. She's married to our great general himself. Great Jove, Othello garden, swell his sail with thine own powerful breath, that he may bless this bay with his tall ship, make love's quick pants in Desdemona's arms, give renewed fire to our extincted spirits, and bring all Cyprus comfort. So he's looking forward to suing his boss, but he's looking forward to seeing Desdemona even more. I love the idea of love's quick pants. Now that's got connotations of sex, not the idea of very fast underwear, or if you're in America, very fast trousers, or whatever. But it's but love's quick pants. But there's definitely there's sexual connotations to that, isn't there? Love's quick pants in Desdemona's arms. Yeah, definitely. He's got the hots for him. Bring all Cyprus comfort. Okay. It could be a euphemism, but anyway. But no, I think everyone... I think he means it in a chivalrous way of saying she's so beautiful and so wonderful that everyone's going to be marvelled at how fantastic she is in the way that... Well, he certainly is, isn't he? There's no doubt about that. So we will continue. Let's have a look. So we've got everyone's favourite bonehead, Roderigo. Here he is. And Amelia's a new character as well. So we will find out. So we've Desdemona 2. Oh, behold, the riches of the ship is come on shore. The men of Cyprus, let her have your knees. Notice, he's not talking about anyone else. He's just Desdemona. Shakespeare didn't write these, is the most likely thing. Because actually Shakespeare puts it in the actual dialogue. So that was a theatrical convention of the time. So let her have your knees. So then someone else has put that in later. Hail to thee, lady, in the grace of heaven, before, behind thee, on every hand, and wheel thee round. Rises. So his language is really, it's elegant, it's flowery, it's romantic, it's charming. But it could just be this cultural thing of the unobtainable woman, this courtly love. I thank you, valiant Cassio. What tidings can you tell of my lord? You could classify that as maybe mildly flirty, if you want to, flirtatious. He is not yet arrived, nor I know not aught that he's well and will be shortly here. Oh, but I fear how lost you company. So the ships got a bit separated as they were coming in. The great contention of sea and skies parted our fellowship. So the ships, because the storm was bad, the ships got scattered a bit on their way over with all the army coming over. So another ship's coming in. So we've got good ancient, you are welcome, welcome mistress. So again, Shakespeare as Cassio acknowledges Iago, addresses him by his rank as well, and Amelia is Iago's wife. Let it not gall your patience, good Iago, and I extend my manners. 'Tis my breeding that gives me this bold show of courtesy. This is where he says his kisses Amelia. There again, Shakespeare didn't write that, but it's an interesting one because it actually fits in with the theme of jealousy. And remember that Iago he doesn't like Cassio. He hates Othello, obviously. He thinks that Othello has slept with his wife, even though there's no evidence of it. So Cassio is probably kind of mitigating. Maybe he's anticipating Iago's jealousy there. Alas, she has no speech. In faith, too much. There's quite a lot of misogyny from Iago coming up in terms of his attitudes towards women. So remember, he's always been painting Othello as lascivious, as in like sex obsessed, as in like barbarous, as in like crude, uncivilized. But look at Iago. That's him. And he's misogynistic here as well. Obviously, we also know that he's racist as well. marry before your ladyship I grant, she puts her tongue a little in her heart and chides with thinking. So this is all about criticising Amelia. Effectively saying she nags me too much, and that's often used as quite gendered language, because only women's speech can be described as nags. You don't really use it for men. The English language has lots of things which are coded against. Well, I've talked about fair, didn't I, as well? So fair is the same thing for ethnicity, for race, for dark skin. The language is often programmed to create prejudices, and here's another one in terms of talking. The way that women's speech can be referred to is different to the way that men's speech can be referred to. But anyway, and I've little cause to say so. Come on, you are pictures out of door. This is a great bit. If you're doing any work about attitudes to women, female characters, misogyny, anything like that, you are pictures out of door, bells in your parlours, wildcats in your kitchens, saints in your injuries, devils being offended, players in your huswifery, and huswives in your beds. So you have all of this parallel phrasing, but as you might have guessed, this is sexual connotations here. So the idea, especially like with wildcats, but so this is all misogynistic with and attitudes towards. Actually, misogynistic does mean. I was going to say misogynistic attitudes towards women, but that's a bit of a tautology, is the term, unnecessary repetition of words or ideas. I don't really need to say that, but he is critical of women here, and it's linked to idea of promiscuity, and obviously Iago is sex obsessed. He's got this jealousy. It fits in with his character. Oh, fie upon these slanderers. So you can see Desdemona does stand up for herself here. Nay, it is true, or else I am a Turk. That's relevant as he's thinking of, obviously, the Turkish fleet have come in. You rise to play and go to bed to work. So this is antithetical, and obviously it's more misogyny and saying women where you don't do anything and you go to bed, that's when you do the work, and that's talking about sex. You shall not write my praise. So Desdemona isn't impressed. O gentle lady, do not put me to it, for I am nothing if not critical. Yes, sorry, I missed this bit. What was the right of me if thou should praise me? O gentle lady, do not put me to it, for I am nothing if not critical. You might argue here that perhaps where we've been used to Iago having very much a public face different to his private face, could you argue here that at this point the mask has slipped and we're seeing more of his true nature coming through here? Is a possibility. Is it because he's in a different location? Is this just how he is anyway normally? We've not seen him like this. So we have, he's got these little rhymes here. If she be fair and wise, fairness and wit, the one's for use, the other useth it. But notice this is actually, these are heroic couplets. We've got blank verse rhyming, but unlike other characters we've seen, Iago's use of rhyming here, these heroic couplets, it's crude. It's all crude sexual stuff. So if she be fair and wise, fairness and wit, well, the one's for use, the other useth it. So these are almost like sexual riddles. How she be black and witty? So remember I said about fair and black. So we're obviously the theme of opposites and contrasts. Iago is alluding to her relationship with Othello as well. If she be black and there to have a wit, she'll find a white that shall her blackness hit. So again, more sexual allusions to her relationship with Othello. Worse or worse, how it fit fair and foolish. Sometimes this is described as banter. I've seen some criticism describe this scene as, it's banter between Iago and Desdemona, but banter is often, in my opinion and in my experience, is a byword for bullying or intimidation or making another person feel uncomfortable. And I think banter is a mislabel of this sequence. I think it's Iago asserting power in a different way. It's a way where, as a man and as a crude man, men have more access to sexual language than women, and this is just as true today as it was then. And so I think, personally, this is to do with power. You can disagree with me, but as I say, I read it sometimes, it's described as banter. I don't think this is. This is going to make her feel uncomfortable, isn't it? This is going to make Desdemona feel uncomfortable. That's how I see it. And also, look as well, it's the opposite, it's the polar opposite of Cassio's courtly language. This is all kind of crude blokes down the pub kind of stuff. And this is what Iago's is like. That's his world, really. The bloke down the pub telling rude jokes, singing rude songs, making women feel uncomfortable. That's my impression of him as a character. How if fair and foolish? So Emilia also questioning Iago. She never yet was foolish that was fair, for even her folly helped her to an heir. So more sexual implications, and then saying she's going to get pregnant, basically. These are old fond paradoxes to make fools laugh in the alehouse. So remember I said it's all like bawdy pub stuff. What miserable praise is how for her that's foul and foolish. There's none so foul and foolish thereunto, but does foul pranks which fair and wise ones do. Another criticism of this sequence is that if Desdemona's worried about Othello not, where he's safe in the ship, where is he? Why is she doing all this? Why is she engaging with Iago here? But as I said, I think it's more about showing it's about power and making her feel uncomfortable. That's what Shakespeare's doing. I don't think we're probably meant to worry about that, is my impression of it. But O heavy against thou praisest the worst best, but what praise could thou bestow on a deserving woman indeed, one that in the authority of her merit did just justly put the vouch of very malice itself? So we have these are really, effectively, they are like poems really, but for Iago I think they're more like songs. Then the main bit I'll pick out here is, look at this. To change the cod's head for the salmon's tail, she that could think and never disclose her mind, see suitors following and not look behind. She was a wight, if ever such wight were. So this bit, who do you think Iago is alluding to here? It's Cassio, isn't it? So he's hinting at she's got other men interested in her. Again, if we're taking the angle that I think it is, which is the idea of asserting power, this could be a deliberate allusion again to further Desdemona's discomfort, almost as if Iago's saying, I'm singing this bawdy song, but I'm on to you, I know what's going on. So again, it's about power. There's also bathos here, because presumably we're expecting something like a more either funny or probably ruder conclusion to the song. She was a wight, if ever such wight were, to do what? To suckle fools and chronicle small beer. So the ending is deliberately, bathos is often used in comedy when you have a kind of flatter, more boring, more ordinary, sorry about the pause, ordinary punchline, something you don't expect. It's sort of really wrong-footing the audience. So it actually, again, it suggests the sort of alehouse, doesn't it, again as well. Small beer is what children drank in Shakespeare's time because the water was too dangerous to drink. So small beer is very, very, very low alcohol beer that children would drink. So it's really, I think, again, it's alluding to the idea of her having lots of affairs and having children, lots of children, suckle fools and small beer. I think that's what he's getting at. Almost lame and impotent conclusion. I find it interesting as well. Again, I'm not sure about in Shakespeare's time, but impotence has sexual connotations in terms of, well, let's just say not being able to perform in that area. So you could argue that we've got Emilia as a character. She's having a subtle dig at Iago, or let's try and think of a more formal way of saying it. She's subtly criticising Iago's sexual prowess as a form of defence. And I find that quite a fun idea, thinking of that. Because, I said Emilia, didn't I? I actually meant Desdemona because I read Emilia there, and I actually mean Desdemona. I am sorry. Anyway. Is he not a most profane and liberal counsellor? He speaks home, madam, as in he's like, he speaks rough and ready kind of language. You may relish him more in the soldier than in the scholar. Like saying he's not a refined man at all. So Cassio takes Desdemona's hand. Again, Shakespeare probably didn't write that, but Iago says it aside. So these are a bit like soliloquies, except they're said on stage and other characters are there, so the audience will hear them, but nobody else does. So Iago he takes her by the palm. Aye, well said, whisper. So they're being a bit flirty. With as little a web as this will I ensnare as great a fly as Cassio. So with this metaphor, Shakespeare has the idea of Iago being a giant spider. I just imagine him as an evil giant spider, which does suit his personality there, as a schemer weaving webs to trap people. I will gyve thee in thine own courtship. You say true, 'tis so indeed. If such tricks as these strip you out of your lieutenantry, it had better you had not kissed your 3 fingers so oft, which now again you are as apt to play the sir in. Iago finds Cassio's courtly behaviour incredibly irritating, like kissing his fingers and all the other gentlemanly stuff that he does. Iago finds that really annoying because he's a rough soldier. Very good, well-kissed and excellent courtesy. So Iago's offering a commentary here on it. He's offering a commentary on the flirtatious action in the background that Cassio and Desdemona would be performing on stage. This is for the benefit of the audience. He's saying, yeah, that's it. Carry on flirting. That's it. Again, sorry. He goes, 'tis so indeed. Trap yourselves. Again, your fingers to your lips. Would they were clyster pipes for your sake. And that's a nice metaphor about music and playing people and manipulating people. Trumpets within. The more I know his trumpet, so that's his. like the WWE, everyone comes in with their own special theme tune. I'm just imagining that now. I quite like the idea of that, of Othello coming in like a WWE wrestler. My God, here comes Othello. And they've got his own theme tune. I like that idea, but anyway, let's not go too far down that. I'll go off on one with that. So we have Othello enter with his own special theme tune. Oh, my fair warrior. We've talked about the meanings of fair as well. And then warrior is ironic because she's, as a woman, she's gentler in the sexist preconceptions of the day as well. But my dear Othello, so the lovers are reunited here. May the winds blow till they have wakened death, and let the labouring bark climbs hills of seas, Olympus high, and duck again as low as hells from heaven. So there's a nice bit of antithesis there of the idea of Othello. He's been at sea, and he's so happy to be there. The seas have been rough, and here he is now reunited because the sea's gone up really high, like as high as Mount Olympus. The heavens forbid that our loves and comforts should increase even as our days do grow. Amen to that, sweet powers. I cannot speak enough of this content. It stops me here. It is too much of joy. They kiss. It started with a kiss. Never thought it would come to this. But anyway, sorry, musical interlude, but not part of the play. So, again, I've said before, Othello's love for Desdemona, I think, is totally genuine. Oh, you are well tuned now, and the asides here, but I'll set down the pegs that make this music as honest as I am. That's ironic. And again, this extended metaphor Shakespeare uses of Iago's playing, I'm going to play you like a musical instrument. Come, let us to the castle. News, friends, our wars are done. The Turks are drowned. So this was the easiest military campaign in history. Well, maybe it wasn't, but maybe one of. I prithee, good Iago, go to the bank and disembark my coffers. So again, authoritative, giving orders. Good Iago, so giving instructions to Iago to help unload everything from the ship, organise that. Not necessarily carry everything personally, but to organise it. All but Iago and Roderigo exit, so we've just got those two left. Do thou meet me presently at the harbour. Iago, he was always pretending to be a loyal officer, of course. Roderigo, remember, he is in disguise because in Shakespearean theatre, Roderigo's got a beard on, which means that he's in disguise and no one recognises him as Roderigo. This is just a convention of the theatre of the time. The lieutenant tonight watches on the court of God. First, I must tell him this. I must tell thee this. Desdemona is directly in love with him. So Iago is now putting his plans into motion. So he's explained to Roderigo, Desdemona's in love with Cassio. With him? Why, it is not possible. Because Roderigo's such an obvious catch. That's the thing. Like, no, she's not interested in Roderigo's mind. She's not interested in Othello. She's not interested in Cassio. She's going to be interested in him, everybody's favourite wet blanket, Roderigo. Lay thy finger thus, and let thy soul be instructed. So, I presume that means put your finger to your lips and shut up. Mark me, with that violence she first loved them all, but for bragging and telling her fantastical lies. So, Iago, again, we've got a theme of reality, haven't we? Truth and reality. Iago here, and I haven't highlighted this because actually I've only just thought about it, he's actually questioning Othello's life story. He said it's all lies, all those adventures he'd had. She's fallen in love with him, but it's not based on anything real at all. It's all rubbish. Let not thy discreet heart think it. Her eye must be fed. What delight shall he have to look on the devil? So we've talked about the racism associated with the idea of darkness, dark skin, the idea of devilry. So why would she love him? He's like the devil, isn't he? Or of the devil, because he's dark. When the blood is made dull with the act of sport, there should be again to inflame it and to give satiety a fresh appetite, loveliness in favour, sympathy in years, manners and beauties, all which the more is defective in. So Iago saying she's going to get bored with Othello. She's going to want someone younger, someone cooler, someone like you, Roderigo. She's going to have the hots for you, obviously. Roderigo, being stupid, believes all this. Very nature will instruct her in it and compel her to some second choice. So he's making Roderigo think, yeah, that's the guy. And actually, interestingly, you wonder if there's a deliberate parallel here. Second choice is in some ways this parallels Iago's idea of saying I could get Cassio put out and then I would be second in command. You could say maybe there's a little bit of a hint of that as well. But he's not talking about that right now, but maybe it alludes to that. Now, sir, this granted, as it is the most pregnant and unforced position, who stands so eminent in the... So actually, Roderigo is being led to believe in some ways that he's being hinted at saying, well, you'd be in the running. But actually, he says, well, here, it's actually Cassio who says there's obviously something going on with those two. So that's the most likely person that she would connect with. Let's just say it like that, shall we? Besides, the knave is handsome, young, and if all those recruits in there that folly and green minds look after, he's saying he's the type of handsome bloke that women go for, like her. A pestilent, complete knave, and the women have found him already. I cannot believe that in her. So Roderigo, even he doesn't believe it. She's full of the most blessed condition. Blessed fig's end. The wine she drinks is made of grapes. If she had been blessed, she would never have loved them more. Blessed pudding. Didst thou not see her paddle with the palm of his hand? Didst not mark that? So you say, of course there's something going on. And that's all kind of metaphorical as well. Paddle with the palm of his hand. I think what Shakespeare's got here is Iago is alluding to sex as well, because of the palms, symbolic of being on top of each other. Yes, that I did, but that was just but courtesy, because Roderigo is a sort of would-be courtly lover, so even he knows how it works. Lechery by this hand. So Iago he's greatly exaggerating what he's seeing. That's how I see it anyway. An index and obscure prologue to the history of lust and foul thoughts. They met so near with their lips that their breaths embraced together. So there's a lot of hyperbole here, exaggerating the nature of their relationship. Pish, but sir, be you ruled by me. I have brought you from Venice. Watch you tonight for the command. I lay it upon you. Cassio knows you not. I'll not be far from you. Do you find some occasion to anger Cassio, either by speaking too loud or taking his discipline, or from what other course you please, which the time shall more favourably minister. So Iago is forming a plan. He's going to try and get Cassio in trouble. This suits Roderigo's purposes as well, obviously. Well, so he's rash and very sudden collar, and happily may strike you. So if you can get him to hit you, get him wound up, provoke him that he may, for even out of that will I cause these of Cyprus to mutiny, whose qualification shall come into no true taste again but the displanting of Cassio. So shall you have a shorter journey to your desires by the means I shall then have to prefer them, and the impediment most profitably removed, without which there were no expectation of our prosperity. So he said, well, if we get rid of Cassio, then you're going to get closer to Desdemona. That Cassio... I should say, this is another soliloquy. So Roderigo goes off, the complete muppet that he is. That Cassio loves her, I do well believe it. That she loves him, 'tis apt and of great credit. So, belief, not really evidence, is it? But that's all that Iago needs to cause mayhem, is the belief of something. So, the more, howbeit, that I endure him not, is of a constant, loving, noble nature, and I dare think he'll prove to Desdemona a most dear husband. So remember, in a soliloquy, this is the total truth. So Iago is actually, because he's a devil figure in many ways, he despises the good qualities in Othello. Constant, loving, noble. These are qualities that are to be admired, but they are despised in Iago because he is a kind of counter figure, isn't it? Oh, not counter figure, a contrary figure. He's the opposite. He's evil. Now, I do love her too, not out of absolute lust, though I peradventure I stand accountant for as great a sin. So he's saying, I like Desdemona. He said, not just in a lusty way. So he says, but he admits, but I have lusted after her before I admit that. For I stand accountant for as great a sin. And, see which of the 7 deadly sins that Iago actually has. You can form a little checklist. You're going to find, I think, pretty much all of them, just mentally thinking it through. But keep checking those off as you go through. But partly led to die at my revenge, for I do suspect the lusty Moor hath leaped into my seat. The thought thereof doth like a pure poisonous mineral gnaw my inwards. So we have seen no evidence that Othello is either sexually promiscuous, sexually, what do we say? Lascivious was the word before as well. And there's no evidence of that at all. There's no evidence that Othello has slept with Amelia. But he's saying just the thought of it, we've got a simile, poisonous mineral. It's like it's poison inside, it's eating me up all the time. Till I'm evened with him, wife for wife. Or failing so that I put them more at least into jealousy so strong that judgment cannot cure. So one plan he's got here is a half-plan. He's saying, well, I could get back, and if I slept with Desdemona, that would make us equal then. But then if I don't get that, then I can make Othello so jealous that judgment cannot cure it. I'm going to get him ready. What thing to do if this poor trash of Venice, whom I trace for these quick hunting, stand the putting on? So he's thinking of Roderigo. I'll have our Michael Cassio on the hip, abuse him to the more in the rank garb, for I fear Cassio with my nightcap too. So he thinks Cassio might have slept with Amelia. He's complete fantasy. Make the Moor thank me, love me, and reward me for making him egregiously an ass, and practising upon his peace and quiet even to madness. 'Tis here but yet confused. Knavery's plain face is never seen to use. So Iago is hoping to profit from... He's going to create misfortune for Cassio, and then he hopes to profit from that. And then the scene ends, the soliloquy ends on this rhyming couplet. But notice there's caesura here as well. So again, it's suggesting that something's a bit broken about this, and it's to do with Iago's evil and his scheming. 'Tis here but yet confused. Knavery's plain face is never seen till used. So we have heroic couplet at the end there, and it really just refers to Iago's two-faced, duplicitous nature. So anyway, thank you for listening. There's been another quite a long video there because that's quite a big scene, but thank you for listening. Like, comment, subscribe, notification bell. Keep following all these. I've got other videos you like as well, so go to them. Have fun. Good luck. Have a good day or night, whatever you are doing. Goodbye.